Joining us is a man who is no stranger to the Observer. Let me say a special good evening to Senator Wade Mark. Pleasant good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening to my brother Mikee K and to, of course, your viewers, and your listeners.
Thank you so much. I know it's been quite a day for you, and of course, last night at the UNC Monday night meeting, you had quite a lot to say, and I know people have been speaking about that. You made it quite clear that the current administration, led by Dr. Rowley, wanted the people to give him 5 more years. You said that the UNC would scrap the property tax when it returns to power and will do a series of investigations into the operations of the current administration. Many people are saying hopefully it's not something that's just on the surface because so much information is lacking and so much is done in secrecy. Begin with the property tax because I mean many people are saying that at the end of it all, with such a financial climate that we're currently in, this is becoming quite a task and a challenge and a burden.
Now, first of all, as you know, the property tax, this dreaded property tax, is a tax which, as far as we are concerned, is totally unnecessary, and it is unable to really bring the kind of, let's say, the revenues, although the government is claiming they will be getting plenty or an abundant amount of revenues from that tax. We in the UNC have made it very clear the tax that the government is seeking to impose on this population has been completely rejected by the United National Congress. That tax, as you know, was attempted, well, first of all, Mr. Manning attempted to impose that tax on the population.
Right.
And you would recall when that was being attempted, Dr. Rowley was a member of the backbench in the Manning administration in that period 2007 to 2010. Now, he opposed that tax, and we also oppose that tax. So it is rather ironic, highly hypocritical for the Prime Minister at a time when he has imposed some of the most harshest of measures on the population. We have had 6 price hikes in fuel prices over the last 9 years. We have had high rates of unemployment. We have also experienced high costs, a very high astronomical cost of living. People are still living on the 2013 salary scale, particularly the middle class. And the government is seeking in 2024 to impose such a draconian measure on the heads of the people. I drew to the attention of the people yesterday that 2 pensioners who are living in 3- and 4-bedroom homes on the corridor of our land are being called upon to pay $7,000 and $10,000 respectively as their property tax. Where are these people going to get that money from to fix and to pay? They don't have that money. So we have made it very clear. Fundamental fairness demands that if you want to impose that draconian tax on your people, well, you have to demonstrate by example your commitment by paying taxes. But we are seeing where the government, Mikee K,
Yeah.
is calling on the ordinary people, the middle class, the pensioners, to pay property tax. But the government of Trinidad and Tobago has passed measures, legislative measures in our parliament, allowing members of the cabinet and their high-flying financiers to build, construct multi-dwelling residential family units and or apartments, and they are being called upon through these measures. Whatever gains, whatever profits were made, whatever lease or rents realized on those multi-family dwelling apartments, that they are not called upon to pay any taxes whatsoever. They are fully exempt
Yeah,
from
and
such
Senator,
taxes.
yeah, and Senator, that in itself, I mean, raises so many questions, and of course, I know it's sort of a challenge for the opposition because information, again, as we mentioned earlier, is not forthcoming. When you look at what's happening with the SSA shakeup, the Parliament's National Security Joint Select Committee has rejected a request. And that was from the two opposition members, Dr. Rudal Monilal and Jayanti Lakshmidial, to investigate recent events involving the SSA. It seems that any time an issue is raised in the interest of us as citizens that we want to know because so much is taking place, and every Monday morning it seems that there's something new. I mean, how much more can we just sit by and see people getting away with all of this ridiculous behavior and no one is being held accountable?
Now, I have said over and over that the best disinfectant for secrecy is the sunshine of transparency. Now, can you imagine in Trinidad and Tobago a government that came to power on the foundations of transparency and accountability, is using its majority on a joint select committee of which its chairman is a government member, to deny the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago the right of transparency, accountability, openness, and good governance? It is shameful that in 2024, in the face of all that is taking place around us, you can have a government seeking to deny citizens of this country transparency and accountability in its operations. That is why we have witnessed the kind of mayhem in our land today. You have a government that seems to be run and managed and administered by a brotherhood of wrongdoers, and they are prepared to cover and hide the tracks and keep secrets for each other whilst denying people access to justice and fair play. And that is what is taking place in the SSA. So what is wrong in the first place? A government minister or a government member ought not to be in charge of such a sensitive committee. It ought to be the responsibility of an opposition member in the parliament responsible for such a sensitive committee. But that is what exists in the parliament today. And these are some of the things, Mikee K, that every effort will be made to address and to correct when we return to office.
Yeah, Senator, you have functioned in many different political offices in different capacities. I mean, when you hear Dr. Munilal say that the JSC on national security will not examine or interrogate the SSA, the officials of the Ministry of National Security or police on this ongoing very serious development, what comes to mind? I mean, based on your years of experience, is it quite clear now that all offices that have been deemed independent have been somehow compromised politically? And if left to continue, let's say because you warned last night about another term and what that would mean for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, give us a clear idea. If given another term, all that is taking place here now, how will it be compounded worse based on what?
Well, what is happening right now, in fact, for the last 9 years, one of the things that we have witnessed being stamped on the governance process in Trinidad and Tobago is a whole network that is generating secrecy and darkness in our society. All our independent institutions under our constitution have been compromised, have been tainted, have been almost subverted by this administration. So you have, as you rightly said, an independent agency of the police called the Strategic Services Agency. While the Prime Minister and his cabinet has the right to appoint the director, the Prime Minister doesn't have the right to direct the director in his operations of how that agency is to be run. It is similar to the Commissioner of Police. Whilst the Prime Minister has the majority in the Parliament to approve a Commissioner of Police, the Prime Minister doesn't have the right to allow a Commissioner of Police to be directed as it relates to operational matters. So what Trinidad and Tobago is in for is an extremely oppressive, repressive, and dictatorial arrangement if we do not take stock of where we are.
And let me ask you, sir, let me intervene. Let me ask you here, on a dictatorial scale of 1 to 10, where are we at this point, you would say?
Trinidad and Tobago is tottering between, let's say, 7.5 to 8% on a scale of 10. So if this government, if this regime, if this PNM is ever given an opportunity by the population to return to office after the next general elections, what we are going to have, Mikee K, is a full-blown dictatorship in our nation, because we have already seen all the signs of subversion. We have seen the signs where the government is seeking to take direct control of policy and operations of these institutions, be they the Police Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, the Teaching Service Commission. You are seeing the office of the Commissioner of Police being undermined. We have seen what is taking place, Mikee K, with the recent appointment of the chairman of the Integrity Commission. So every independent institution under our Constitution is under attack as we speak, and those attacks are only going to worsen in the coming period. And that is why we have a responsibility to protect and to speak out against these attacks on our independent institutions. And that is what we are doing. Every time we have an opportunity, we speak out against attacks against the independent institutions under our Constitution. And that is the role that an opposition has to play in such an arrangement as we have in Trinidad and Tobago, to keep the government on its toes and to prevent the government from infiltrating our institutions.
Yeah. Senator, I'm glad that you cleared that up. I want to get to another point here. Last night at the UNC Monday night cottage meeting in Pointe-a-Pierre, the opposition leader said that the UNC will begin its screening of candidates for the next general election in approximately 2 months. You, of course, made it quite clear, as though to cement a point, that the UNC has one leader, one mission, and one party. Why did you feel it necessary to make such a statement?
Well, Mikee K, you know that in Trinidad and Tobago, you have the Prime Minister indicating that elections might be held soon in Trinidad and Tobago. We know, Mikee K, that the revenue stream of the government is extremely dangerously low at this time. And because of the low supply or the declining supply in natural gas, we know that Trinidad and Tobago revenue base is becoming more and more uncertain. So with all of this taking place around us, with foreign exchange reserves dipping, with unemployment rising and growing in Trinidad and Tobago, with murders over 4,000 as we speak, we have to ensure that our party, with what the Prime Minister is claiming of wanting to have elections soon, we have to cross all our T's and dot all our I's. And as such, we are a democratic party, and we have elections, as you know, from time to time. And in a democratic party, anybody has a right to participate once you're a member. But I made it very clear that in the United National Congress, as we speak, there is no vacancy for leader. And we, because of the fact we have an election that can be called at any time, because the Prime Minister is in a desperate mode and he's calculating on his chessboard when, why, how, and at what moment he will ring the bell. So we have to be in a state of continuous readiness for any eventuality. And that is why I made the point that we are facing one enemy. We are facing one enemy called the PNM, and all our resources must be harnessed and husbanded to remove that particular enemy. We must unite as a party, bringing all the forces together to accomplish that mission.
Yeah.
And it is in that context, Mikee K, I made the point that we have one leader, we have one vision, We have one mission and we have one objective, and that is to remove this wicked, evil administration from the seat of power in Trinidad and Tobago. And I warn also those who have ears to hear that in their quest for progress, which everyone is entitled to go after and strive towards achieving, never allow your ambition to exceed your talent. And that is the point I made, that we have to be razor sharp, focused in trying to achieve our common purpose and our common objective. The people are crying out for liberation. The people are crying out for emancipation from this oppressive, crooked, thieving administration, and they want justice, equity, equality, prosperity, social inclusion, and they want the United National Congress under Kamla Prasad Bisesa to do everything in their power to remove this criminal, gangster type administration now governing our country. And that is why I made the point that I made yesterday.
And if I had to read it correctly, as we close off, read it correctly, basically, they say that timing is everything when it comes to politics. And basically what you're saying is that, have your ambition, have your aspirations, but now is not the time?
Clearly and so on, Mikee K, we are a democratic party. We have a democratic country. Of course, the government is trying to whittle our democracy and transform it into a dictatorship. But as a democracy and as a democratic party, every member in our party have a right to strive and to struggle to reach to the highest summit or to the apex of our party. And there are all the provisions and all the institutions that are in place under our constitution to achieve that objective, and we encourage all of them to go for it. But there's a time and there's a place for everything. Right now, we have one objective, we have one mission, we have one goal, and that is to rid the country of this group of oppressors, these modern buccaneers and pirates who are stealing, who are oppressing, and who are subverting not only the rights and freedoms of our people, but they are taking away the very property that is called home. Mikee K, if you do not pay your property tax, they impose penalties of 10 and 15% on you. And if you still can't pay, they come and they take your personal and household belongings through warrants and sell your fridge, your stove, your TV, your bed, your doormat, just to recover their property tax. And finally, when they cannot get in, Mikee K, they seize your house and they sell your house. That is a recipe for unrest and social upheaval in a country. We are committed to a home-owning democracy. We are not committed to having a homeless society.
Thank you. Senator, thank you so much for taking time out this evening linking with us. We will be checking in with you periodically, and best of luck to you and your entire team. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.